Hello and welcome. And we're finally live with Gill Routledge, my guest today. I'm really excited about our chat. Welcome to Free the Mind UK, a chat with a therapist. My name is David Carson. I'm also a therapist. I work with hypnotherapy and integral eye movement. Now, before I introduce our guest, I'm going to play our intro video. Here we go.
Not sure what therapy to choose? Free the Mind UK presents A Chat with a Therapist. Join us live for an up-close informal discussion of the various holistic therapies available, helping you make that important choice.
Hey, here we are, Gill, at last. We're actually live. We did have a few complications last Thursday, but
just a few.
We've sorted it out and we're flying. So, Gill, it's great to have you on. I'm sure the people that are watching are going to be very interested in what you're going to be talking about. I'm very interested in what you're going to be talking about. And what we're going to be talking about today is an aspect of what you do. That's correct, yeah?
Yeah.
And it's a very important aspect. I think one of the most important aspects is self-love. Once you have self-love, then you're able to love others. There's a lot more than that to it, and Gill's going to talk about that. But what I'd like you to do, Gill, if it's okay with you, is just give us a little introduction to how you got to where you are today. And
okay, yes. So I guess what brought me here to this place and helping people to connect with loving themselves is the fact that I really didn't love myself. And I wasn't aware of that, as a lot of people are not aware of it. But what I was aware of was depression. I'd suppressed my feelings. I'd pushed all my feelings down. I'd used the strategy that many people use, just rolling my sleeves up, getting on with life, and then wondering why things just weren't working. I think I had chronic fatigue, not that it was diagnosed because I was too tired to actually go to the doctor and get it diagnosed, but I actually couldn't get out of bed, and it was a struggle to look after my 2 young daughters at the time. And it's just when I hit rock bottom, I guess I realized that something needed to change, and that all the doctors could help with was offer me medication, which just didn't help. The first time I went to the doctor and said, look, I just can't cope with my 2-year-old, and please help me do something before I throw this child out of a window. And I obviously wasn't going to do that, but it was it was just wanting a cry for help, really. So are you still there, Dave? We seem to be buffering. Have we lost connection? I'll continue to talk just in case we're still there. We seem to have lost Dave. Yes, so I was put on Valium, which meant that I really couldn't cope. I was struggling to cope anyway, and it just meant that I was very sleepy, wanted to sleep all of the time, and while my daughter just sort of wandered around the house doing her own thing, which as anybody that's had a 2-year-old would understand isn't the best, isn't helpful. This is rather off-putting because I can't see Dave, and I can't see live. Are you coming back? You're back.
For a moment, Gill.
Yeah.
We lost internet.
Right.
So I don't know what happened, whether we just went off to people or what.
Well,
when I ran back upstairs, you were on, and I was like, oh, thank God.
I was continuing to talk, and it was a little off-putting because I thought I'm talking to myself here. Am I completely crazy?
Don't worry. I'm really sorry. I did miss a bit of that because
Okay, that's
My
fine.
screen told me that we'd
What I was
we'd
talking about actually to myself, which is not easy, looking at yourself on screen
Yeah,
and talking away
absolutely.
anyway, regardless. So what I was mentioning was the fact that I was struggling. I was really struggling with my young daughter, at 2 years old, and yeah, I went to the doctor for help. He gave me Valium,
Like
which
they do, Jill, like they do. And
no,
still
they do.
today. It's
This
unbelievable.
this was many years ago. So this is 35 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And which meant that I'm lying in bed, not able to get out of bed because I'm dosed up with Valium, and my 2-year-old is walking around the house doing her own thing. I hear this scratching at the door and sort of lean out of my bed, open the door, and there's my daughter who's found a gold marker pen and has covered her whole face in gold marker pen and the
Oh, wow.
and the door. So yeah, and I just was just didn't know what to do, and I was.
It sounded a rough situation.
Yeah, and
sorry.
I ended up seeking hypnotherapy actually at the time, which again, because I was very new to this kind of work, I didn't realize the implications. I didn't understand what was involved. All I saw was an advert in the paper that said hypnotherapy helpful for headaches, and I did suffer with headaches and migraines a lot. And so the hypnotherapist put me, sort of regressed me. I saw an image of, oh my goodness, I don't normally share this online with so many people, but I saw an image of me on my back.
Well, it is what it is. It's coming out. So,
yeah, it is. And we just have to trust that. I mean, no amount of preparation would have prepared me for this. But the memory was lying on my parents' bed with my father pinning me down with his sort of this distance from my face. So putting two and two together, I assumed that there'd been some kind of abuse or whatever. I don't know, and I don't know to this day. What I do know is that that memory is healed, and I have a pretty good relationship with him now. He's still a cantankerous old
he's not watching.
At least he won't be watching.
And this is the beautiful thing about time, isn't it? It's interesting that 5 years or 10 years can go by, maybe not with that situation, but other situations, and you think there's no emotion at all. It's like time, they say, is the healer. It's quite true in some cases, obviously.
So I do work now with a lot of women. I also work with men, but I've worked with a lot of women who have had traumatic situations, who have gone through trauma, as in rape or abuse or verbal or physical. And having been there and gone there, there's a lot more empathy for that person. I don't think I could have done this. I couldn't do this work if I didn't know what it was.
Jill, you're gonna have to say that again, because you're breaking up a little bit. You're breaking up a little bit.
Okay, so what I was saying was
that's better.
That I feel that I wouldn't be able to work with these people if I hadn't gone there myself and felt, whether it's anger, frustration, sadness, whatever it is. And now you're frozen. We've lost connection again. So this is not helpful. The internet looks fine at my end. So maybe I'll continue talking, even though it's probably dropped out. Hang on, let me just ring Dave. Don't know whether whether we are destined to to have technical complications. So if this is working, if the connection is working, I'd like to ask anybody that's watching, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. The first question is, would you like to have more connection in your relationships? And if so, what would that look like for you? I work a lot now with couples who are struggling with relationships, people that feel, women and men, that feel maybe that they're not feeling heard, not seen, invalidated, invisible even. So how does that manifest, and what's the price that's being paid for this? That there's a lack of connection, a lack of communication in that relationship. And there can be often a breakdown in the relationship, and a breakdown in communication. And for some, it leads to separation, even divorce. And with simple intervention and tools and skills, it's possible to put it back together again. And statistics show, where are we? He's coming back. This is not I can't hear you now, David.
You can hear me now, yeah?
I can hear you now.
I'm watching you, right? And then all of a sudden you just disappear and it says no internet connection. And I'm like, oh my God. So I'm running downstairs, checking the router, and apparently it's all good. So it must be my computer. So my apologies to everybody watching. I'm guessing these things happen sometimes. And me and Gill are determined to get through this talk.
We are.
So again, my apologies, Gill. You've been talking away, and I haven't heard.
This is like life, Dave. It's like life.
It is. Absolutely.
There's setbacks in life, and it's not the setbacks that are the issue. It's how we deal with them. Yeah, it's our perception of them, our ability to get back up, dust ourselves off, and continue.
Here we are, Jill. We're flying now. I'd like to sort of ask you a couple of questions, if that would be. And if there's anybody else watching, which I know there's a few people watching, or there were until I went offline. And if they want to ask Jill any questions, it would be great. Just put your questions in the question box, and I'll be able to see them, and we'll go from there. When you're working with people, Jill, is it, you mentioned predominantly women? Yeah.
I actually work with it's an interesting question, because I was asked on a business course, I was asked to create my avatar, who it is that I work with, and be very specific. You've heard all the lingo, the target audience, and all of that. So I said, well, my target audience would be women between the ages of 45 and 55, I guess, because, well, I'm actually beyond those ages now, but that's what I was aiming for, because I could relate to that audience and what they've been through. Yeah. And as soon as I put that out there, I got a lot of men inquiring with relationship issues. And so I've worked with a lot of men too. So I've had to sort of rewrite who my target audience is. And sometimes it's about being just open to whatever is next, whatever comes your way.
Absolutely.
And
sorry, go on.
yeah, so what seems to be coming more my way, and that I absolutely love, I love helping people with communication, which is interesting, seeing as our communication has been cut off several times. So
we're being tested tonight, Jill. We're being tested.
we are. And it's great to have a laugh. You know, I actually did a 2-day course in laughter therapy, and I spent the first day crying because I just thought it was just ridiculous, and I was far too serious to be a laughter coach anyway.
Oh wow!
So it's nice when it can come in there.
No, absolutely. Funny enough, my guest next week is a yoga laughter guy.
Yeah,
he was on Britain's Got Talent. He did try to get all the audience laughing, but he's on next week, so we're going to be having a laugh next week, definitely. Absolutely, definitely.
Well, it's such good therapy because so with the work that I do, we bring in, you know, some laughter, which lightens things up a lot. You know, a lot of the subject can be quite serious, but when you can laugh and cry like a child would in a nanosecond, you know, be able to laugh and cry in an instant, it's so therapeutic. And because it cuts.
This is why I've got all these lines, Jill.
Me too. Me too. We have to be proud of them, I guess. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's where was I going with this? So laughing and crying. So it's about exploring a myriad of emotions that can get locked in the body when we have challenging experiences in our life, even trauma. We push things down, we lock it into the body, because that's how we've been taught, how we've been conditioned to deal with stuff. You know, in my day, it was like, roll your sleeves up, get on with life, and you know. Exactly. What I was saying about the taking yourself a bit lighter is that sometimes there can be a tendency to be a victim of situations. And of course that, you know, that's well founded when there's been abuse and within a relationship or even outside. You know, I work with women that have been raped and that kind of thing, and to help them to just to get in touch with the emotions that they locked down or shut down at the time, open into them, and explore what's the worst in just being able to feel that emotion rather than trying to push it away. When we push at something, it stays there. So
that's very interesting, actually. Very interesting. So the predominant issues you deal with would be sort of people who've maybe been abused or raped or maybe even domestic abuse and stuff like that.
Yeah, some of it is that. Some of it is that. And what's happened is that when there's baggage from the past, what we carry it into the future relationships. For example, if somebody's been say somebody's been cheated on in a past relationship or past marriage, there's going to be an expectation that that's going to happen again. And the problem is with that expectation, you're almost inviting it for anyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because what we focus on, we get more of. If you're into the law of attraction, what we imagine in our mind's eye, we can draw towards us.
I was actually in a relationship 4 years ago or something, and she was convinced we were never going to be together. We were together, but she was convinced we weren't, and she was going to lose me one day. And I obviously said, you know, why are you thinking that? You know, and cut a long story short, she actually created all of the things to basically end the relationship, so it became impossible. pretty much because she expected it. I think I used to say to her, you shouldn't say that because you're gonna manifest that. You're going to attract that into your life in a sense. And it was so ingrained in her belief system that the situations were created for that to happen.
So it's about looking at these beliefs and challenging these beliefs. And I work a lot with neurolinguistic programming, NLP, and we look at the ingrained beliefs that feel very true and questioning, is that actually true? And how does that impact you when you believe that to be true? And also the other thing, I was working with somebody today where you can have a vow as well. And I've worked a lot with these. We can make promises to ourselves. That's never going to happen to me again. Now, for example, my childhood, my father was quite abusive and could be violent at times. And my mother was very dependent on him. She had 4 children at the time. She later had 5. And I made a promise to myself that I would never, ever be dependent on a man. Well, for any women that have had children, that's virtually impossible when you're bringing up a child and you're not able to work full time. You are dependent, and it's very difficult when you've made these promises to sort of get on with it and not ask for help, not be dependent on someone else.
I should imagine that would cause a few situations going forward.
And
it's often those situations that create these things, like you said. You noticed that your mother was dependent on your dad, and you could see what came from that. And I mean, obviously, probably you were probably thinking, "God, I wish you'd bugger up," because you don't want all that. You don't, as a child. I believe it's so important to really tell your children how much you love them and how special they are, to start to instill that sense of self-love. And I also intrigued why on earth there's not more of this in education, in the schools. I'm sure there is nowadays. They're incorporating it a little bit, but I think it's really important.
I mean, did you know that most relationships fail because one or even both partners are unable to love themselves, feel a lack of love for themselves?
Do you know what, Jill? I think the lack of love for yourself is the thing of all problems. I think if you love yourself, you're naturally going to be more confident. You're going to be naturally more self-assured. You're naturally probably going to face challenges with a sense of positivity. Not in every case, but if you actually, have a sense of love, which you could call self-worth, then I think you're gonna be much better off going forward in life. And me personally, I never used to love myself, and since I've realized how beautiful I am in like everybody's beautiful, you're beautiful, everybody. I'm saying it in that sense because like incredible manifestation of existence. It's and we just get torn away from that in some sense.
We do, and for anybody watching that has a lack of confidence, lack of self-worth, I mean, I don't get people coming to me saying, I've come to you for some therapy because I don't love myself. That never happens. But what I do get is people saying, I need to lose some weight, or I need to stop smoking, or I need to stop drinking, or that I've got issues in my relationship. He's not listening to me. He doesn't love me, or I feel that I don't feel loved. And all of that, when we love ourselves, we don't need that validation from somebody else. We don't need to hear our partner saying, I love you, to feel love, because you love yourself.
Absolutely. And it also takes away neediness as well. You've got this love within you, you know?
Yes. And
A
talking
sense
about,
of independence.
yeah, you mentioning neediness, being needy,
Mm.
needing is like, it's related to wanting, and it's like a reaching out, reaching out, trying to grasp at something that's elusive. And how many
within
people
themselves all the
how
time.
many people
So,
remember their school days of chasing that girl or that boy and then running a mile, and it's even in our adulthood, we can't, if we're needy, it drives the other person away. But when we're centered in ourselves, and anybody watching would say, well, how is this possible? But it is possible to learn this. It's possible to generate that love, because the essence of who we are is love. It's here. It's just
I would actually say remember it, because I think
absolutely.
it's within us. We just lost track of it. We've just lost it. It's interesting because my two daughters, they were homeschooled for quite a while, and a lot of the family was saying, well, what are they going to do? They're not associating with friends and everything, and if they go back to school, they'll probably get bullied and all this. And I was like, they won't, because we've been teaching them to be confident in themselves. We've been teaching them to respect themselves and love themselves. So when they eventually went back to school, they were really good, because they've got this thing within them, because they like themselves or love themselves.
Yeah.
And I think this is important for any parents watching this now. I've done it myself years ago with my children. You shout at them and all sorts of stuff, and then you might not tell them how much you love them as you should. Well, I'm telling all the viewers now, tell your children how beautiful they are as much as you can. Because it's so important, isn't it, Jill? So important.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, it's got to be authentic. It's got to be genuine and not over, because the love word, it can be. I've heard people saying, "Oh, my husband keeps telling me he loves me," but it just feels it feels empty. It doesn't feel genuine.
Actions speak louder than words. So going on to the sort of issues that people come to you with, do you have do you have like a varied sort of issues with people?
Well, I belong to an online agency where a lot of people make inquiries and request me to contact them, asking for more information or a quote or whatever. And a lot of the inquiries these days are weight and smoking. And because I'm under hypnotherapy, because that's the closest that my work comes to, it's not actually hypnotherapy, that people think, I feel that people are expecting just to lie on a couch and I'm gonna wave
a magic wand.
Magic wand, it's all gonna go away. And the people that I actually do work with, I have an initial consultation with them. We have a chat through what's involved, what they're willing to do, and there's quite a lot of work that I would set them and expect them to do, put the effort in.
This is so important, Jill. So important. Like you said, some people just expect you to wave your magic wand. They've got to put the work in. They have to be committed to it.
Yeah.
We've actually we've got James on here. Let's see what he's saying here. All boils down to confidence and self-esteem. Well, definitely very helpful, James. Definitely very helpful. If there was bags of that right now, even though I feel quite confident as a business, I'd be grabbing them, It's a bit crazy, isn't it?
Thank you for that reminder. There's something called resources that we use during a session, and things like confidence, self-esteem. They're things that we inherently have within us. It's just that our attention is somewhere else. We're so busy with the negative mind talk, that parrot on the shoulder that's going, "Oh, you're useless, you're no good at this, you're never gonna make it," all of that sort of stuff. And when we can switch the radio dial from radio critical to radio confident.
This is good. I was going to say actually, because I find it one of the biggest flaws of the human, and that is the fact that, you know, consciously, apparently it might only be a model, but we're only like operating on a small percentage of consciousness, and the rest is unconscious or subconscious. And I think this is where people have a lot of difficulty, because they're just reacting without realizing it, because it's automatic. It's you know, been created, and it's a matter of recognizing those triggers, I guess. And then having the choice to decide whether they want to carry on feeling that way.
The more issues that we've had from our past, the more conflict, the more trauma, if you like. And some people see trauma as the big stuff, you know, as I put in my book, you know, if you've been in war-torn country, or the things that we've mentioned before, like rape and abuse, that's recognized as trauma. But actually, for a small child, trauma can be mummy walking out of the room for 5 minutes, you know, and feeling abandoned.
And that can carry on with them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, and then they
don't even know it. They don't even know it,
and they might be
whoever created it. They made a big mistake, you know.
Yeah, and accusing.
Be interesting.
Yeah, they then accuse their husband of, you've abandoned me. You're not there for me. And when we go back, so there's six elements that I look at when I'm going through the session with somebody. So the first element that we've already mentioned is looking at their past, because if we don't look at the past and break those chains that are holding us to the past, we're locked in something that we can't resolve. So it's about changing our perception of what's happened in the past. We can't change it, but we can change our perception to it, breaking the chains to the past, and then you can move yourself into the future. So we also look at the patterns and the coping strategies that were created from past events. And there's a lot of different strategies. Some people who have perhaps had a very dominant parent or an abusive parent would go into toughing up, you know, bulking out, being the tough guy, you know, the typical bounce. I know this is sort of labeling, but like a bouncer outside a nightclub, you know, the big guys that are, and actually that it's all protection. That big body is protection, and actually they're gorgeous little teddy bears underneath that, you know, really soft and vulnerable, but it's a protective layer. So there's the other side of the coin is going into victim mode and playing small, because if you play small, you that's a way of protecting yourself from being abused or bullied, because you're not pulling back
attention, you know, you're not
so
fascinating.
Or playing, in my case, playing the good girl, being the carer, being the person that looks after everybody else. The problem with that is that you lose your identity, you lose who you are, you forget who you actually are, because you're so busy looking after other people.
Absolutely. Another question, well, not a question, it's James again. I'm a good friend of James, actually. He's in Bulgaria, and we sometimes go online together, and he plays his guitar. He's really cool. So you can't change the past, but you can change the concept and change the future.
Definitely, because when we're still reacting in that reactive mode from how we've been conditioned, or how the coping strategies have set themselves up, we continue that pattern. But when we can recognize what's working and what's not working from our past, we can cut the ties to that and move forward. And by identifying the patterns, we can see the part that we're playing in the relationship. And I love the relationship work, the dynamics and the ego, different ego patterns and styles.
I can imagine it's quite fascinating. It's
fascinating, and it's fascinating to watch and to listen, because I love listening to language patterns and drawing attention, shining a light on the things that people are saying, that are having an impact, you know. For instance, you know, well, I've told her so many times that she should, yes. And that actually, as an observer, we're going, that ain't working. It's not going to work. Nobody on this planet likes being told what to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also
so a bit of education as well.
Yeah, I love, so the work that I do is it's mainly therapeutic, but it's also educational. So I love to educate, love to signpost as well, and show people simple skills, tools that they can use. And my clients,
I think that's really important. Really important.
When they come to me, so afterwards, after a session, the therapeutic session, I'll write their notes up, email them their notes or voicemail them, and then we have a follow-up call where we talk through some of the skills, some of the things that work for them, some that don't work, and we'll focus on consolidating the skills that they're happy to use. And also I have a members portal on my website where they're able to log in to there and do some exercises that are already on the portal. So it supports them in between the sessions. I wasn't going to dive into all of this so soon. Yeah.
No, it's fine. But no, I think it's great. I do the same thing actually with my clients. I give them techniques that they can that they can use, you know, to help themselves.
Yeah.
I have actually got false teeth.
Yeah. So I got as far as looking at the past, looking at the patterns, looking at ways we protect ourselves, you know, like putting on extra weight is a form of protection. Of the ego patterns are a form of protection. Also then look at bringing people into the present moment, because we can usually cope with what's going on in the present moment. If we're faced with something and because we're all the time that we're focused on either the past or possible future scenarios that aren't going to happen, and we don't even know if they're going to happen, we're not being present. We're not living. We're not.
Absolutely. Not in the moment. Definitely not. Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I like to think, I'm sure you do too. I like to think that, you know, I'm quite balanced person, all the stuff that we're helping people with, you know, because like you know, I want to be in a good space when I'm helping people, because I know somewhat what it's like to be in that place and how joyful it is, you know.
Yes. And yet we've all got stuff to work through. Like I was really struggling with technology earlier.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you're right. There's something incredible about being able to be in the moment without being in the past or in the future, you know, things going on or in your, you know, in your head and whatever.
Yeah.
I can't explain it properly, but I'm sure you know what I mean.
Sorry, you were going to ask a question.
I was going to ask you another question. I was going to ask you, is there a best time to start doing the work with you? You know,
Yes, that's a good question. The best time I would say is now, because the reason being, I'm very aware that we tend to procrastinate. We're great. I know that I've been a great procrastinator, and I've put things off, and mañana, tomorrow, as we know, tomorrow never comes. And I'm realizing in my later years that actually time is fine.
Like you do. Yeah. This is interesting, actually, because me personally, I'm very aware. It's one of my major motivators is that I've got like limited time now. When you're like 20, you're not thinking about that, you know, or 30 even. You get like, I'm 57. It's like, okay, you know, if I've got good genes, I might live another 20 years or whatever. But yeah, it definitely motivates me, because time is of the essence now.
It really
so if you want to get stuff done, you've got to do it, you know.
Yeah.
And especially if you've got loads of problems in your life, you know.
Yeah. people think that, and it's so easy to fall into the trap of thinking, well, this relationship isn't working, I'll move on to the next. And
Yes.
the next one, if you haven't resolved the issues, that it's not going to work either.
Yeah.
That you're going to either take the issues with you, or there's going to be a different set of issues. And realizing that it's not always the other person. It's so easy to point the finger and to blame the other person. And that seems to be human nature. We all do this.
We do.
And yet when we can actually self-reflect, when we can put our hands up and go,
take responsibility.
Take responsibility for at least 50% of, and it's so easy to play the victim, and that doesn't get us anywhere. I don't know if you've seen the victim, persecutor, rescuer triangle, where the victim is at the top, and victims will attract rescuers. And the problem is that triangle goes in a big circle. Goes round, and the victim will turn the rescuer into the persecutor, and it goes on a loop. So it's recognizing
endless cycle.
Yeah, it's recognizing the games that we play, and sometimes it feels cruel. I mean, I like to consider myself to be a kind and compassionate person, but sometimes it's necessary to go, actually, do you realize what you're doing, the game that you're playing here? And I did point this out the other day to somebody, that, I showed her the victim, rescuer, persecutor triangle. I said, you're up here. And it's important.
I think that's important for a therapist as well, because you're there to help them. And sometimes, the truth's always necessary, Yeah.
And it's self-awareness. The more aware we are, sometimes we go through a phase. I watch this phase I've watched it within myself and see it in the people that I work with more awareness and more consciousness. We're more aware of the patterns that are not serving us, the patterns that are getting in the way of our relationship. And it can be a very uncomfortable place to be. But when we move through that, there's growth to be had. And
I think it's a fantastic place to be in, because half the time they're not aware of this, and to be aware of it, because I like to say the universe will bring things into your life to give you that opportunity, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know whether you believe in past life or reincarnation or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But what if we've actually chosen? What if we've chosen our parents? What if we've chosen our partners? What if we've chosen every life circumstance, situation for our own growth?
Yes.
And that's a hard pill to swallow. Yeah, because some people would say, well, surely, you wouldn't choose to be in a war-torn country. We wouldn't choose to be raped.
Exactly. Exactly. I know. And I'm with you on that. I'm normally like in the middle, 50-50 on a lot of things, because I can't be, things like that, I can't be totally sure. I only know maybe when I leave my body, I might not even ever know. But I think I've definitely seen it in people where the same issues keep coming up and up and up over a period of time, because they're creating those same issues like we were talking before, that wheel.
I mean, we do swear blind that we're not creating those issues, and I'm saying we, because we've all been there, we've all done it.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. But I've definitely seen a theme in my life up to like 10 years ago, and the theme was my issues, because I wasn't dealing with them. So
what's coming up for me is that because of my past and watching the way that my father was with my mother, I shut down my ability to open up to love, because when I watched him, actually there was an instance where he was holding a chair above my mother's head. I was 17 years old. I walked into the room and I thought, I can't watch this anymore. I can't be witness to this anymore. And so what I said was, don't you dare hit her. If you're going to hit anybody, hit me. I mean, what a crazy thing to say. I mean, I don't know if you're in my shoes, I don't know what you would have said, but and in that moment when he turned on me and told me to get out of my house, you know, I never want to see you again, I'm disowning you. I shut down. A big wall came down and shut down to love. And I swore that I'd never open that door, because for me it was painful. And in my relationship with my husband is a really good man, but I couldn't open that door to him. I couldn't open.
Makes a lot of sense. And the saddest thing is that your dad is in his own bullshit, basically, if you don't mind me saying that. You know, he's in his own issues, you know. And like, I like to think that however evil some people seem to be, underneath all of that, they're beautiful people. They're beautiful souls. They're incredible.
And I think something I read was about seeing the other person, whatever their behavior, seeing them as a small child. And I have, you know, I've listened to his stories of his childhood. His mother had was given an ultimatum. She had to leave him in the care of grandparents because she got pregnant during the war with somebody else, and my grandfather drew the line there and said it's either me or the baby, and she chose the baby. So my father was being looked after by grandparents, and the grandfather belted him. So he carried on that pattern of using a belt with his children.
Absolutely.
And he witnessed dead bodies. He was in Manchester, dead bodies during the war being taken away on a horse and cart. You know, so I'm not condoning his behavior, but there's a child.
No, I was going to say
that's hurting, and I'm so grateful for the therapy work, for the insights, for the learning, for the growth that I've had the opportunity. But for some people, it's too painful to even go there.
And for some people, it's too late as well. You know, I mean, it's never too late, but it's got to a point where you know that, because there's a lot of people. This is the idea of this. You know, these lives is to educate people out there that there's things out here that you can use as tools. You know, to help you move on in your life, whether it be, you know, what you do, or reflexology maybe, or whatever, you know. Because a lot of people don't know where to go. They don't know what to do. It's not in their consciousness maybe to go and see a therapist.
And a lot of people have the belief that there's nothing you can do apart from go to the doctor. You know, some people I speak to say, "Oh, I'll wait and see what the doctor says." You know, this putting the doctor on a pedestal. And often, I know from my nursing background, I spent 30 years as a nurse, so I know exactly what's going to happen when you go to the doctors. You've got possibly two choices: antidepressants for depression, or being put on a list for counselling. And I was put on a list over a decade ago. And maybe I'm still on that list, or maybe that list has disappeared into the ether. I have no idea. I'm so grateful that I found another way, because
Absolutely.
waiting a decade for counselling.
And also in the fact that you can help others, you know.
Yeah.
I think it's great. And you also get those people who believe there is nothing wrong with them. I haven't got a problem. You know,
no, it's everyone else. Everyone else has got the problem.
Exactly. Yeah, I must come across that quite a lot.
I mean, that's the thing. It's having the humility to understand. And quite often, you know, people come to me at the point where they've been through relationship after relationship after relationship and gone, and suddenly there's a light bulb moment. Okay, there must be a common denominator here. And I spoke to somebody yesterday who I haven't seen for a while, and he came to me for sessions and said, you know what, I want to make sure, I want to know what I'm doing that's caused this in this relationship, and I want to make sure that it doesn't happen again. Which is
beautiful, and that's what it's
beautiful.
all about.
Yeah.
That's very beautiful. If only more people were like that, you know.
Yeah. And this person isn't young, not a young, so you don't need to be a spring chicken.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I get,
you know, change the spots on a dog. I can't remember the saying.
Yeah, I mean, I work with people in their 20s right up to 70, you know, 70s, whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful for the people that do come for this work. My feeling is that I work a lot on a one-to-one and work with couples as well. And what I'm working towards is being able to get this work out to more people, and hence this interview and
chat. Interview.
Chat. It's a chat. Whatever. It's a chat. Yeah. It's not an interview, is it? And this, by the way, is water. It's not a gin and tonic.
Really? I've got mine
in a very
slightly bottle. I'm actually fasting at the moment. I've been I've decided to. I used to do it years ago. I used to do fasting. I've been on a 20-hour fast.
Yeah.
Really good. Got loads of energy. Loads of energy, Jill.
So one of the avenues that seems to have appeared in front of me is I've become a membership of a group, and if anybody wants to find out about this group that's a therapist that's watching and wants help and support, because for me the issue was the technical support, getting myself out there. I didn't know how to, you know, I know how to work with people and I see amazing results, but didn't know how to reach more people. So this group is there's a Facebook group called Success Builders, and I'm Success Builders, and it's a lady called Angela who's part of this. And from there, there's another Facebook group that you can I think you have to join Success Builders first, and then there's a group called Succeed from the Start. So I'm part of a group where it's both men and women, but I've joined a group of, there's 4 of us women who are working with looking at different aspects of the menopause. So we've done an initial chat, and I've got a video of that, which I'll send to anybody that wants it. So anybody that wants to contact me through my website, I can send it to you. Also, the intention is to put it on my website as well. So the interview, actually, it's not. It's more of a talk. It's a talk rather than an interview. And 4 of us. So one of the ladies looking at the issues of the pelvic floor during menopause and how that impacts sexual relationships, that side of things. Another lady looking at physical aspects and nutrition and the chakras and all of those things. Another lady who's looks at the voice, communication and confidence.
Holistic approach there, isn't it? That's
really cool. And then I look at the emotions and the impact that our emotions can have on our relationships. So that's my angle on it. You know, and we're running a workshop. It's either called a workshop or a masterclass. I'm not quite sure what we're calling it right now. And that's going to be on the 9th of July.
Where can you find it, Jill? Is it on here? Let's have a look.
It will be on...
This is your workshop page.
Yeah, if it won't be on it's not on my website yet. It will be. What I'll aim to do. But anybody that's listening and really wants to know a little bit more about how I work, just contact me through the website, and I'm really happy to have a chat. I love having an initial chat with people, finding out what they're interested in, what they need, and how we can move forward. Because I feel that it's so important to make sure that there's a match between, if you're looking for a therapist, make sure that there's a connection there, that you feel connected to that person. And it's important to know a person's background as well. For instance, for some people, it's important that they know that I have a nursing background. If they're on any medication, I know a fair bit about medication and certain ailments, and you can relate to people with that. The other thing that that holds me in good stead is I trained as a facilitator for an organisation called Penny Bron UK, and it used to be the Bristol Cancer Centre.
Okay.
So I used to work as a facilitator. We used to co-facilitate. So there'd be two of us facilitating courses for people undergoing cancer treatment. And my favourite part of the course was teaching meditation, relaxation techniques. And the other part that I loved was looking at how to cope with relationships when you're going through cancer treatment. So I've done a lot of work.
I was going to ask you, do you some of your techniques that you take people away with? Is meditation one of them by any chance?
Meditation, obviously, meditation is a big thing, because when we can go into a place where there's more calm, more stillness, more ability to connect with your inner self, or some people call it your higher self, some people call it consciousness, whatever you call it, it doesn't really matter. Some people call it the God self. Because nobody else can give you answers. I can't give anybody any answers, but what I can do is facilitate, and the ability to connect with your own wisdom, your own truth, and live that and be that and connect with. I love working with people who have perhaps lost sight of who they are, and help them to reconnect with their true selves, with that authentic self. And it's not about letting go of being a carer or a mother or whatever it is, your roles and duties in life, but really getting back in touch with who you are.
With who you truly are. I'm going to get some t-shirts made up. Be who you truly are.
Even if that's a crazy individual.
Exactly. It's interesting, actually. Maybe I shouldn't say this, but it's like in life we have all these roles and we do all these things and we worry about this and we worry about that. And one day we're not going to be here.
No,
it's literally we're not going to be here. And my thinking of it is it's all pretty pointless, really. On some level, it's not, obviously, because you can touch people's lives and you can do things for future generations. So in that respect, it's not. But all those things that you're worried about and all those stresses, and as we know, most things, people worry about things that don't even happen. It's
that's
like,
the problem. And all the worry and the stress, does my bum look big in this? And and the bags and the wrinkles, and I've got carrying too much weight. The problem is, like we've said before, is that all the focus on the things that we don't like draws attention to the things that we don't like.
Yes.
And when we switch that focus to what we do like, and we can look, I never was able to look in the mirror and see a beautiful person. I really, really struggled with that. And now at this age, 63 years old, I can look in the mirror and go, do you know what? You're beautiful. And, grey hair and wrinkles and the lot.
That's what it's all about, Jill. That's what it's all about. Absolutely. And I'm with you on that, because I used to look in the mirror and think, oh, my God. But now I look in the mirror and think, oh, my God. But I'm really messing about. But, like you love yourself now.
Yeah. And it's not an arrogant. It's not about being arrogant. At all.
It really isn't. And I'm definitely not coming from that place.
Yeah.
It's just a really joyful feeling inside, and everyone can experience this. They've just got to recognize who they truly are and what they're not, I think, personally.
Yeah. And like you said, like you said before,
get some help. Give Jill a call. I'm going to ask you, Jill, you obviously do online sessions as well as?
I do. I work with people. I do work with people online. In fact, when COVID first hit, a lot of clients that were coming to see me obviously fell away. And then I would work a lot more online. I also do telephone work for work a fair bit in the Jewish community in London, and they don't do all this Zoom or Facebook or anything like that. So we just do telephone, and they only use Nokias. So they don't even have iPhones or Androids. So I love when I work with people, I like to see the facial expressions, but it's still possible, and I see amazing results even over the telephone.
Yeah. So people watching this and watching the recorded message, you can work with Gill over Zoom or whatever medium she uses. Zoom, I presume. Yeah.
Zoom, mainly Zoom, and a lot of people now. I mainly respond to requests. I don't chase clients anymore. I don't look and see who's out there and inquire. I wait to see who it feels right to respond to. And I've let go of feeling guilty now of not responding to every request that comes through, because it's not possible. So mainly I like working with what I call the deeper stuff, the heavier stuff, the trauma, the relationship issues that might look like they're unresolvable, because they are resolvable, and I've seen it time and time again. So people that have tried everything, I love to connect and work with people that have tried the self-help books, the courses, the going on retreats, the everything. They've tried everything, and it's not work. And what I would say is that I do not work on just one-off sessions anymore. I used to work with one-off sessions, but this work, it requires
in one session, can you? Can you, Joe?
No,
you really can't. Well, depending on what you're dealing with, maybe like a fear of flying, you might be able to if you use some NLP or whatever. You might be able to. But deeper stuff, definitely, I think you need a bit more time. So, how many sessions normally do you?
Well, I normally encourage people to sign up for 6 sessions. We can see amazing results in 6 sessions. In fact, the first session, often you'll see. I hear people saying that, so much has changed in just one session. And somebody I spoke to today, she said that she'd forgotten. And the thing is that it's easy to forget. Once the issue is gone and cleared, they forget about it, and they're on to the next thing and going, oh, what about the next thing?
No, absolutely. And obviously you're based in West Sussex, Barnum, isn't it? Barnum?
I'm 10 minutes outside.
Between.
I'm in a small village called Yapton.
I'm just thinking about people who are watching this local.
Near Chichester, 15-minute drive from Chichester. We're just off the A27. And for anybody, I do get clients coming down from London. So it's an hour and a half on the train from Victoria. And most people who know the value of this work are prepared to make that journey. Absolutely. And I've had people driving from all over the country, actually. And
well, I think a lot of it's down to your reputation and the good work you do, Jill. Definitely. And we've known each other quite a long time, haven't we?
We have known each other a long time. We met originally at a network. I mean, do business networking events happen? Breakfast events happen these days?
They do, actually. And I'm actually maybe I used to enjoy them because I like you. I like chatting and I like people. So but they're still happening, definitely.
I used to struggle.
But I remember you did my colours for me once, didn't you? My colours for me.
I've completely forgotten. So
I lost them. I don't know what happened to them.
Well, I don't know where my drapes are anymore. Little swatches.
Oh, really?
That's how I got into the colour therapy. Originally, my journey started with selling skincare products and doing facials and selling skincare products, Party Plan. Do you remember Party? Well, a lot of women watching would remember Party Plan stuff.
I remember it.
And through the skincare, some marketing material came through to train in color analysis. It was very big in the 90s. What colors suited you, House of Color, that Color Me Beautiful, that kind of stuff. But this was different. It was individual color analysis. So I would make the colors up according to people's
skin tones and stuff.
Skin tone, their eye color, not just that, but their personality as well, and their age and their gender, everything.
I might have to come for another session of that.
Yeah.
You have to find your bands.
I'd have to dig out my drapes that would be buried in the ear's cupboard somewhere. Fantastic. So yeah, and then through that, I went into color therapy and would learn to read colors, and I still use color a lot in therapeutic sessions because it's very, very powerful. What different colors mean, what the colors that people wear mean.
Oh, I see. So it's a reflection of them in a sense.
Yes, absolutely. And if you would see yourself as a color. And then I don't know, it just progressed from there and went into coaching. I did some counseling skills, and then I came across the journey, which was pioneered by a lady called Brandon Bays, and she trained with Tony Robbins. And even though a lot of people won't have heard of Brandon Bays,
most people have heard of Tony.
Absolutely big NLP guru. And one of his phrases is that the past doesn't need to equal your future. Wow, well, that's one of his. So that's something that I love to quote because it really doesn't. It doesn't have to.
I like Tony, actually. I've watched a lot of his stuff, and he does seem to know his stuff, definitely. And so a lot of the work that I do is NLP based, which obviously Tony Robbins is an NLP guru, but there's a lot more to it than just the NLP. Of course,
a lot of just opening into this field of awareness that we're in, because we're so intent on identifying ourselves with the body, aging, or everything that goes with it, personality. But there's so much more to us in this energy field. And when we can tap into that,
and everybody can. Everyone watching this now, whatever you've got going on in your life, you can do it. I mean, I just don't worry anymore, Jill. I don't worry. I really don't. I don't bury my head in the sand. But whatever's coming into my life, I'm like, whatever. We'll get through it, and it'll all be good. It's just my perception of it now has changed. But it's all to do with all this, developing your self-love. It has so many advantages in your life.
It does. Definitely. It really does.
And then, like you're helping people with relationships, or single people come to you about relationship problems. You help them out, and then they can find, they'll attract a beautiful relationship that's going to serve them in that moment because they're free of all that crap, in a sense. Right?
And what we don't realize is that we attract, like attracts like. So the qualities when we are in touch with the qualities, our amazing qualities, kindness, compassion, love, self-belief, confidence, we attract that like a magnet towards us. But when we're focused on the negative stuff, of course we're going to attract negative.
Of course.
And yet
I'm just looking here, Jill. Go on. Sorry, and we don't what?
We are over time, are we?
No, I was just looking at. We are, but that's fine. We're having a good time. James has just said here, as Freddie Jacquin says, it is just your imagination running away with you.
Love that.
I love that. This is my other favourite from James. I meant to put it on before. Isn't love a 4-letter word? Lots of love. Bless him. He's a lovely guy. Well, Jill, what can I say? It's you've really covered a lot of interesting stuff tonight, and I'm going to put your links. You have to send me your links to your, especially the menopause.
When I can access that, because I need to take my laptop.
Give it to me. Yeah, absolutely. But I'll put it on the description box, on when it goes on YouTube, and I'll put all the info on there. Whatever info you want to send me, just send it to me.
And also, if anybody that wants to know more, there is a podcast on my website about connecting to love, and it's just 30 minutes listening, and just to get a feel for that. And also,
you've also got some sort of meditations on there, and
there are.
There's some good stuff on there, Gill. So, people watching, definitely check out Gill's website, because there's an array of different interesting things on there that will tickle your fancy. That's the right word to use.
And if anybody wants to book a call with me, I'm happy to share my members portal as well, which is quite a privilege. So there's lots of stuff on there that is available.
Brilliant.
Well,
Gill, I want you to just stay on for 30 seconds after we leave, because you'll still be on with me.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd like to say to everyone, for those people watching, and to James for all his questions, thank you very much for watching. And if you're watching this on recording, don't forget to like and subscribe on the YouTube channel, because the more people who subscribe and like, the more people get to see these wonderful chats like with Gill and get all this incredible information. So I'd like to say thank you to everyone for watching.
Thank you.
And I'm sure Gill does too.
You're doing a great job. You're doing a great job.
Yeah. Oh, thank you. So next week we have Pete Can, the laughing yoga man. He was on Britain's Got Talent, and unfortunately he got 4 red crosses. They didn't want him on. And he's going to have us all laughing next week, so tune in next week for that. I'm sure it'll be a great chat. So thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.